Hey everyone, it's Time Spiraled. Welcome back to some more MSEM. Today we got some news for the MSEM Cube League, and we would have had this news about 48 hours ago, but guess what? I totally messed up on the previous recording. We had posted it, and my microphone was off the entire time, and I didn't bother checking through the recording because I figured, hey, everything was perfect, and it was not. We're going to make this brief. There's a few cool things to talk about. First of all, you're looking at one of the big new ones. We now have an MSEM Cube League website. There will be a link for the site down in the video description and up in the Discord channel. This is now going to be your kind of like one-stop shop to keep an eye on the Cube League's contents. So we're hoping to juice it up also with like additional stuff as the weeks go by. I'm not a programmer or anything or a website designer, but so big shout out to Canterbury Egg and everybody else who worked on getting these GitHub sites up and running for the custom Magic community. I really think these are going to be like the next big thing in terms of having our sites publicly available. And this is just going to be perfect for the cube. We're going to be keeping every month's new cube here on the list, so you'll be able to see how they were. And if ever you were enjoying drafting a previous month, you can always come and re-download it and play. At the same time, we'll also have the link to the mystery pool, so you can see which 48 or so cards are in the pool, and we'll talk a bit about why that number has increased up from 24 recently, so you can keep an eye on that. And then, of course, you can go and check out the champion gallery to see everybody that's won an event so far. At the same time, you can go and directly browse the sets. This will give you a better kind of like search through. We've also got like a Scryfall syntax. You can search cards, and text. There's just a lot that you can do, and you can sort by set number. So that'll be a really easy way to keep an eye on the set. And at the same time, like we said, you can check out the mystery pool and the Cube League champions. So aside from that, some big news. You'll have heard in one of our previous videos, we've upped our MSEM Cube League events now. They're twice weekly. We have Tuesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern and Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Eastern, allowing different time zones to come and participate. So big shout out to everybody who's come and played so far. I think we've had at least 30 unique drafters over the past week and a half, the three events that we've had, and we've already got 8 drafters signed up for tomorrow's Sunday event. So again, big thank you. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to the people who worked hard on the cube and behind the scenes to get this all running. We really do it because, you know, it's one of our favorite formats, from one of our favorite ways to play Magic the Gathering, and it's great to be able to have a format that can showcase cards from around the sets, and one that's always changing. So, you know, with the mystery pool, it means that no matter what, even though you might not win, as long as you play a card that you like or maybe more, will find their way into the cube. So let's talk about some changes you can expect. So first and foremost, a decently big one, we're increasing the size of the mystery cube, the mystery pool. So we originally had it at 24. The whole point was that it would fit one slot in the cube, and you would always see those cards. What ended up happening is that one of our players realized that, well, if you only can ever make it out for, let's say, Sunday, and the cube and the mystery pool rotates for the Tuesday, you'll actually never play with your cards because the Tuesday one would overlap. So instead, we're increasing it to twice that amount. It'll be 48 cards. Essentially, we'll have 2 chunks of 24. And whenever there's an event, it'll rotate out the previous chunk, but that means one will always stay in for the full week. So if you only can play Sundays, you're always going to have a chance to see your cards. Now, of course, at 48 cards, it's only like a 50% shot to see, well, not 50%, but you see half of the mystery sheet in any given draft. So there's a few more cards. You'll notice that it's now 6 per color. Okay. Same thing. We have 6 multicolor cards, 6 artifacts, and 6 lands. So that'll be the ratio that we are keeping at this time. We can always change it as things go by if we notice that there's different things that we want to try. But I think this will keep the mystery pool nice and exciting. So that's the first big change. At the same time, we've got, we should stop at the champion gallery just to kind of show you what that looks like. Now that our champion cards can be enshrined forever, you know, this is going to be a nice way to, you know, you'll always be able to come by and check, and they're going to be sorted by color. So whites, blues, blacks, reds, and greens. And then eventually I'm sure we'll have multicolors and artifacts. So yeah, no matter what, if you win, your card will be up and available to keep an eye out. Now, the big one for today, it's the middle of the month, so we've decided that rather than make many changes, because it's, you know, it's as a cube designer, you're often itching to make small micro adjustments after every draft. We're going to always try and not do one before about the middle of the month. So right now, And we decided to keep things small for this one, but there were 3 cards that really deserved to have a change. So we're going to go talk about them. They're here in the cube list. In fact, 2 of them are green, and 1 of them is multicolor. So we're going to slide all the way down. Let's talk a bit about some of these cards. So the first card you're going to see that has been removed is Mother of Monsters. And there's kind of a theme behind the cards that we've removed. So I know some people are going to miss them. They were very loved cards, but there's a reason why we changed them up. So Mother of Monsters, fantastic card. It was punching pretty high for its weight class. It's a 6/6 for 6, gain 6 life on enter, draw a card on dies. But the big one was the Codex. Essentially it said, hey, for the next, I think it's like 5 turns, you're only going to be drawing 6 drops, when if you're able to drop a 6 drop like Mother of Monsters, that's fantastic. You're just going to drop threat after threat after threat. Now, normally that wouldn't be necessarily enough for me to want to take a move on a card like that necessarily, but the big issue is Codex is actually kind of annoying to resolve on the Cockatrice client. If you are a new player, doubly so. So there's a way to run a Codex command. You have to go over to Discord, so you kind of have to like get off of Cockatrice, open Discord if you had it closed, run the command. Your opponent has to see it. That shuffles the Codex. So it's a little bit of a hurdle for new players, and at the same time, it actually takes a little bit of time. So resolving this card is like a minute or something, and in a digital format like Cockatrice, where things take a little longer sometimes to resolve, you're waiting for your opponent to sometimes answer, sometimes there's a judge call. We realize that some cards like this that actually have a high cost in terms of setting up are something that we're going to keep in mind now from now on. So because of that, Mother of Monsters is now no longer in the cube. So we reached out to Splashcat, and Splashcat picked a new card to replace it on the top end in a similar slot. Scrolling down, we come to our second removed green card. This is Verdant Sanctuary. Now, this is a very kind of like this size of... some people really like the card. I really like the card. I mean, the reason I picked Verdant Sanctuary is, the effect, you may play basic lands you own from outside the game. The set that it's from, Survive the Night, did not have a limited. So this is actually the first time that you essentially have a infinite sideboard of basic lands, which is really cool conceptually. It came with a few issues, chiefly... It was pretty easy to assemble the combo with Verdant Sanctuary and Cantra, which if I scroll up, you'll see the card I'm talking about. Should be up here in the case. Cantra Bounty, you can play any number of lands on each of your turns. And we thought, wow, what a cool combo. Infinite land drops. And it is really cool, but it's also not necessarily intuitive for some people, and also... As some of our players reported, it kind of felt bad. You would load up your sideboard with 50, 60, 100 basics, and people would know, oh, they're on Verdant Sanctuary. So you were kind of giving away information. I mean, there were ways around it, like you could just conjure tokens, but ultimately, it's another one of these cards that... This one was clearly a power issue, like a balance issue at the weight, the power level at which we wanted the cube, but also it was kind of annoying for new players and for people to do the setup, and it had some little icks. So... it was a tough decision between Verdant Sanctuary and Cantrip. So we could have kept in Verdant Sanctuary just by itself, and that would let you, again, have a big sideboard, but that came with the issue of you would still reveal that you had a massive sideboard. So we decided to keep in Cantrip of Bounty. Cantrip of Bounty is now going to be significantly worse without access to Verdant Sanctuary. I'm assuming it's going to see a lot less play. There's really not huge payoffs for playing any number of lands. There's not like a land that floats. There's no none of those right now. But the reason I left this card in is I think it can do some stuff, in fact, with cards like Field Tender. And what I would really like to see, actually, is maybe the Mystery Pool adding in a few of those lands that fit really well with it, or some card like Crucible of Worlds that lets you play lands from the graveyard. So yes, the value on Cantrip of Bounty has probably dropped significantly without its other piece of the combo. But I mean, it's still a 4/4 you can cheat out, or at least inspirit out pretty early. And maybe with some, we're hoping maybe in a green-blue, green-black, kind of like Soul-type package with some big card draw, you can get enough of a boost that you can get some land drops. I'm thinking cards like Buoyant, where's that little card? Buoyant Thoughts, draw 4, untap 2 lands for 5. You draw a certain amount of lands, you just play them all out. I'm sure there's a few things you can do in green-blue that has a lot of card draw. So that's our second removal from the cube. And then the last one, this one hopefully is no surprise. It's been really the one that's been debated the most, and essentially won the discussion on what's the best pack one, pick one. It's Key to the Nexus. So conspiracies are always, rather problematic in cubes. We definitely wanted to try one. We felt, out of all the different options, Key to the Nexus could be interesting and not so busted. And it ends up that it's not super busted, but it's a little too strong. 5, you unlock it. If you played Wooburg, you immediately get to cast a revealed card, so you can, build around it. And funnily enough, it often worked really well with the Verdant Sanctuary package. But also just 5, get any card to the top, so you guarantee your next draw. You couldn't interact with it. The card was doing a lot. And we were also seeing players forget it, or, leave it in the sideboard, or forget to pick something. And it's kind of hard to remember all the movements to grab a card from your sideboard and put it face down without There's a whole little, again, there's like intricacies about playing that card that are a little tough. So we took that card out. So those are the 3 cards that have left the cube for the second half. There are no more planned changes to this current cube list, because in just over 2 weeks, we're already going to be switching to the second month, and that's going to be a whole new cube with a whole new theme, and you can definitely keep an eye out on the channel. We will be talking about that cube with some previews on the last week here. But what we're going to do is, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see our 3 new cards that have come to replace the previous one. So right off the bat, Bound by Nature will replace Verdant Sanctuary. It's a nice little build around enchantment. For green, all your creatures can tap for green. And then if you pay a little more, your creatures also get +1/+1, +2/+2 for each nature counters. It's quite a neat little enchantment. Definitely not as strong as I would say as Verdant Sanctuary, but it's a fun little build around. And I like the fact that you can't cast non-permanent spells, so it kind of pushes you into a different deck building direction. And it's a cool card from End of Woolensey, which is one of the new sets. One of the more recent sets in the format release, I believe. The previous release, I might be confusing something, but it's decently new. At the same time, this is Splash Cat's pick for the replacement for Mother of Monsters. This is Lian Tai-Z, Bountiful Earth. It's a 7-mana trample 1/1, but it has +1/+1 for each card in your hand. So again, in a green-blue package kind of thing, you can have a pretty big Elder Dragon here. And of course, when it enters, you can pick up any number of target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand. This just does a lot. It'll pick up a lot of cards. And there's been like other cards in the cube that people have enjoyed with these effects. I think one of them is right here. Where are you? Studies Past, right? Return X target cards with different mana values from your graveyard to your hand, and if you lost life, you can cast it with Flash. So now with these 2 kind of effects, there's a nice little package about just kind of thinking about your different mana values as you deck build, and I'm always a fan of having deck building constructions in mind. For the last card, it's Intrepid. This is a card that really doesn't care about your deck building thing. It's just going to be good in most decks that you play. I don't know if it's necessarily the pack one, pick one of choice, but I mean, I'm sure this card is going to get picked highly and picked often. It's a 3 mana that when it enters, you get to search for any land card and put into your hand. So fixing, or if you've got certain like creature lands, I don't know, Wise Old Oak or some other cards that you really need now, you can go and pick them up. And then, of course, as soon as you have 4 more differently named lands, it's not too hard to achieve. It becomes a flying 4/4, and it will start beating up your opponent's face. And it's hard to remove when it's not animated, because it's an artifact and not a creature. 4 toughness is a good breakpoint for some of the removal. And yeah, honestly, Intrepid does a lot of work in Constructed, and I assume it'll continue doing a lot of work here in the cube. So that's kind of like the big changes for the cube. Tomorrow on Sunday will be the first time that we play with the changes, so hopefully we'll see some new stuff going on. And like I said, the mystery pool has a bunch of cool new cards that I'm hoping that will pop up. Ethereal Shepherd, Seto-san is big, Crossing the Fog is really exciting, Terraformer's Globe is great fixing, and it's fun to see players figure out cards that wouldn't maybe necessarily see play and stuff. But yeah, honestly, Red's got some big sweepers here, so maybe Big Red Dragons just got a little boost. 20,000 Leagues was a little rough, I think, last week, but I mean, it could still happen. So there's a lot to be excited about. So we're hopeful that you take the time to either check out the content, and again, it's totally free to enter. We still got the prizes going. The mystery pool is just for participating. We've got our champion promos for winning a pod, and then afterwards, well, people have started the journey towards getting their 6 best wins for the purpose of earning the season emote. So far it looks like things are good. I mean, we really hope that we don't have to cap it at like the best 3, or we'll see. So far, I mean, having a lot of participants is a good thing and not a problem, and I'm more than willing to contribute that way. So keep an eye out here for some more news. We're hoping that I'll be able to do some recording of the draft and the matches tomorrow during the cube draft, but no promises. We're realizing that hosting and recording is kind of tough, because as I answer judge calls, my recording and my content is not quite as exciting. But we really want to have some stuff. If not, we know some content creators like Angener have already started putting up their content, and we have added it to the Cube League playlist, so you should be able to see that. But all in all, just following along with what we do, and if this looks interesting, pretty easy to get into. I mean, it's pretty simple to install the Cockatrice plugin, and then getting playing is, free. You just need a few hours. We really ask that you play at least one match, but if you can play the entire one, even better. So thank you very much for tuning in to this week's news. It's been nice to have a little bit of a patch, and hopefully this puts the cube to an even better place than it was since the beginning. So stay tuned for more. Thanks again, and have a great evening.